It's another Monday evening. Hi there. Welcome to State of Affairs here on GHOne Television. I am Francis Abban. Tonight, we have a very, very important conversation to bring you. The Ghanaian economy, as you may all know, is not in a good place. We are on an IMF program. But if you look to the granular details, there's a very grim picture that is being painted about the state of our banking sector as a reflection of the economy, where we're at, the health of that space, why some multinational banks are leaving, what's causing that, what it means for the larger, bigger picture for Ghana's banking industry, and where we go from here. That's where we're focusing our lens tonight, gauging the pulse of the Ghanaian banking sector as French bank Societe General, or SG Ghana, is exiting the country. There are reasons that have been adduced for that. We will discuss that tonight with someone who has a very vast, extensive knowledge and understanding of how Ghana's banking sector has operated over the years, and look to what has happened, what has been the precedents, and what we do look at going forward, heading into the future for our banking industry as a country. The show is brought to you with the kind of association with MTN. MTN is everywhere you go. MTN has a brand new app out. The MTN Momo app is the blue and yellow icon. You cannot get it wrong. If you download it from either the Google Play Store or the App Store, what it gives you is the opportunity to be able to make payments, receive payments, view your statements, pay bills, do as many transactions as you can, easily, seamlessly, no hassle at all. Whether it's bank transactions you want to do across your wallet or platform, send money to your bank account, or have money sent from your bank account onto your wallet, all that is possible when you navigate on the MTN Momo app. It's fast and very convenient for you. Get it today. I recommend it for you today to make your life so much easy on MTN. MTN is everywhere you go. Our guest joining us via Zoom for this very important conversation is Dr. Richmond Atuahene. He is a seasoned banking consultant. Doc, good evening. You could have been anywhere else, but you have been kind and magnanimous enough with us to join us for this important conversation. Thanks for joining us. Doc, can you hear me? Good evening.
Thank you very much.
Right. So,
and check.
Sorry, did I miss something?
No, I say thank you very much for giving me opportunity to be on this show, please. Thank you very much.
Sure, great. So, before we even look at the latest indicators given by SG, so Societe General, of leaving our banking industry, plans are afoot towards their exit from our banking industry. We are in the second quarter of 2024. How would you describe the health, at a glance, of Ghana's banking industry or sector today?
If I'm given an opportunity to look at the banking sector from what has happened over even the last 2.5 years or 2 years, I wouldn't say that the sector is very resilient. Why I say so is that banks have been called to make capital, additional capital. And you know this in macroeconomic environment, shareholders are not going to get easy to pump in new money into it. Some have gone into the market. Some are also talking to other people. And if the system is resilient, I don't think we'll have solvency and capital issue. So for me, If you only look at the profitability that has been declared recently, and even in real
Doc, are you with us? Dr. Richmond Atuahene, are you with us? Okay, we'll try and pass through the connection to Dr. Richmond Atuahene tonight for our conversations. But just to put things in context, the last report that was authored relative to Ghana's banking industry, banking industry report of 2023, had some very interesting details to share. We had seen Ghana's banking sector experience a slight decline in performance, primarily driven by substantial impairment losses, resulting in a notable decrease in profitability. Only 6 banks reported profits before tax in the review year, in contrast to the 20 banks that achieved this milestone in 2021. And also in 21 in 2020. So that's been a trajectory over the past couple of years. One of the key indicators reflecting the industry's decline is the shareholders' equity, which decreased from some 26.49 billion cedis to 20.53 billion cedis, representing a reduction of 22.49%. Now, that decline was primarily attributed to the review year's retained losses, which marked a departure from the positive gains of 16.23% witnessed the prior year in 2021. On the other hand, total deposit liability experienced a very significant increase in 2022, with an upswing of 36.95 billion, representing a substantial growth rate of 29.92%. Now, that stands in contrast to the previous year. Previous year, we saw a comparatively lower increase of 19.17 billion cedis, translating to an 18.43% growth rate. Now, despite the challenging environment, the industry managed to improve its balance sheet through an increase in deposits liabilities. Overall, while the banking sector in Ghana demonstrated commendable performance in enhancing its balance sheet, the incidence of impairment losses had a significant impact on profitability, thereby affecting the balance sheet. Already we are aware that in 2022, heading into 2023, a lot of the issues relating to the domestic debt exchange program had a knock-on effect on the performance of banks, their books, their balance, and their profitability in 2023. We are in the second quarter of 2024. We're looking forward to see what the industry report does say, reflecting that of 2023, and whether or not there's any indication that things will get better even as we go along. I'm told that we've been able to pass through once again to Dr. Richmond Atuahene. Doc, I lost you there momentarily. You were speaking about the banking sector not being resilient. The last report that came through reflecting 2022, 2021, heading to 2023, had very serious concerns about performance, the strength of the sector. We are in 2024. Has 2023 given us any indication that this resilience that we're looking for, we can actually get it this year? Doc, are you with us? Can you hear me? I'll try one more time. Dr. Richmond Atuahene, can you hear me? Okay, all right. We might have to work the system yet again and be able to pass through to Dr. Richmond Atuahene, who is the banking consultant, for our discussions tonight on the state of Ghana's banking sector. It's one of the key drivers of the Ghanaian economy, both for the public and the private sector, and we need to have a fair understanding of what SG's exit is pointing to, what the real deep problems relative to our country's financial or banking resilience is, why it's in that state, and what needs to be done for us to get better going forward. We'll go for a short break now. When we return, we have more for you. Stay with us.
Hmm.
Thanks for staying with us. You're watching State of Affairs here on GHOne Television. I am France Abban. Tonight we're gauging the state of the Ghanaian banking sector. Also in relation to the news that's come out about Societe General deciding to exit Ghana after 20 years of operations here in Ghana's banking sector. Our guest tonight is Dr. Richmond Atuahene. He's a seasoned banking consultant joining us for our discussions. Doc, thanks for connecting with us this evening yet again. You've already said earlier that
Thank you very much.
the state of the Ghana's banking sector is not as resilient. First of all, for Societe General's decision to exit the Ghanaian banking sector, is this good news or is this symptomatic of a problem that we should be paying attention to?
I think I'd like to pick your last comment. Is it a symptomatic cause that we should be looking at? Societe General is not the first multinational that has left the shores. And the reasons being given are quite almost the same. Talking about the macroeconomic instability where cedi continue to depreciate, where inflation is running ahead of the competitors in the sub-region. So it's something that we should take it seriously and begin to work on the macroeconomic environment. Because Unilever, we are told the tea production sector has been moved to Abban. Mm-hmm. And I'm saying that who knows what will happen to one of these global companies, multinational. So I think the owners of the managers of the economy should sit up. We shouldn't be thinking that all things being equal. Recently, I heard one of the ministers saying that Ghana is the best country to do business. You know, when you're a multinational and you're going to invest, you're looking for microeconomic stability. And I mean, fairly stable currency, lower inflation, fiscal deficit controlled, public sector debt manageable, terms of trade, terms of balance of payment, positive. All these indicators that I've mentioned doesn't look very good. Because if the IMF doesn't come and give us 360 million, what they intend doing, I don't know where the city will be. So I would think that the managers of the economy should be looking at maybe a comprehensive to address some of these issues that are affecting these multinationals to move, because they have shareholders to have to pay. If I invested $100 million in Ghana in 2019, the city was 5.17. Today, the city is 14 point something. If I do the same investment in other countries like La Côte d'Ivoire, where the city has been the France has been very stable, I would prefer to go there and invest, because after all, I'm looking for good returns. I'm not just a social company. I am somebody who have to pay his shareholders a return, which is in consummate for their investment they have made in the company.
So you've pointed to this being a symptom of a bigger problem for the economy that the handlers should be paying attention to. We've seen many reasons adduced for why these companies are leaving. And since you've opened that door, let's explore that briefly. Then we'll return to the banking sector proper. Yes, Societe General has indicated that it's leaving. Unilever relocated its tea production to Nigeria, as you mentioned. BIC moved its operations to Ivory Coast this year. Jumia Food shut down in December last year. Game Shopping Center closed down in December of 2022. Glovo has indicated that this week, on the 10th of May, it's also stopping operations in Ghana. Dark and Lovely, Bet365, CTDR Supermarket, which was quite a series or a number of companies or supermarkets dotted across that were in operation. They've also had to fold for one reason or another. You say the handlers should do something critically about this, but we are now an IMF program. What could they possibly do different from what they're doing now?
You see, let us have the historical antecedent first. You know, we borrow so much, we borrow too much without putting in a productive investment. If you look at it, that we were at 122.6 billion on December 2016. And today we are close to our 8 to 750 million. Even with the debt exchange that we have, our debt is continuing ballooning. The reason being is that if we have done what the Zambians did by, say, a fast train from I've forgotten one town to another town, and we owe so much, it is very difficult it is easier to identify. As we sit here, I drove through Kumasi Road yesterday. The least talk about this, whether it's a road or something, the better. If you have I know you've traveled.
Yes.
Even if you go to La Côte d'Ivoire, Yamoussoukro to Abidjan, you know the highway.
Yes.
You know Kaduna, Lagos to Kaduna, constructed in 1993.
Yeah.
I'm talking about 1993. You drive on it and you say you're on a highway. But when I drove on Kumasi, it's a death trap. It's a death trap. But we borrow so much, even common roads, we couldn't put it right. Trains. If we have gone into train, fast train from Takoradi to Kumasi, Kumasi to Accra, carrying the cassava, the food, we won't have all these prices going. Unfortunately, I would say we borrow for consumption. And when we borrow for consumption, you pay through your nose. So now it is for them to sit down and talk to their supporters, like the Bretton Woods, telling them that we've messed up. We want us to look at even the agrarian economy. The reason why I'm diverting to agrarian, I had a program before I came to you. We import 1.2 billion worth of rice. We import poultry, 400 million. Tomatoes, onions from Ivory Coast, from Burkina Faso and Niger. But let me tell you this, and I want to make this statement emphatically to Ghanaians. My late mother in the 60s used to buy tomatoes from Ashanti and export to Wagga. I can testify this. That is how my school fees were paid. Now, we are importing tomatoes from a Sahelian economy to a ring belt economy. And we talk about we're doing something until we get the agrarian economy back, where we can produce enough rice, enough maize, enough plantain, enough cassava. We are talking English, I'm telling you. Because yesterday, when I traveled through Domiabra in Ashanti region, a bunch of plantain is the same as in Accra. 90 cedis a bunch. When I came to Accra, my wife there is 90 cedis. Why? Because production is no more there. So I think we should refocus it. We should make a conscious effort. You see, some people talk about industrialization. I will say that the basis of our problem, you cannot feed yourself. You cannot do industrialization. It's pure economics. Any country that cannot feed himself cannot industrialize. Let me give you an example. If you go to States, for instance, food is one of the cheapest things you can get. So people don't even think about food. But as I'm speaking to you now, whether in city, whether in the village, whether in the urban towns, everybody gets up in the morning and is talking about food. He hasn't even talked about where you put his head or the electricity. So I am saying that we should go back and look at our models and say that, look, it's not YD1F. Support the private sector. People who have agreed to go into rice, maize, we give them the enabling environment. Like when President Kufuor was there, cocoa farmers, he didn't go and plant cocoa. Confidor were subsidized. Spraying were being done. Machines were given to them. It is not a government who went there to say, I'm going to do one day, one factory. No. It doesn't work like that. Even in the communist countries have now stopped. China have stopped that because they believe state does not function properly in managing economy. So that is my best bet and advice. Anybody coming in should look at the support of agri sector with all the speed, and they can even go to some of the AFID, those who support agri, to come into our help to help us. Because other than that, all these debts we are pushing forward, we are rescheduling and reprofiling. It will come to haunt us 5 years, 10 years time. Because when they mature, we may not have produced enough foreign exchange. When you talk about the mines, the least talk about the minerals, the better. I've done a work on it. From 2016 to 2022, we exported 43 billion. Do you know how much we got for the whole country? 6.6 billion, equivalent to about 13%.
What?
Very sad. Very sad. Cocoa is not going to give us anything. Gold, forget it, because about 86% go out. What is left for us? What? So when I hear about lithium or whatever, lithium, I always have the same pain as I have for gold. Because we're only destroying the environment by not making a concrete effort to have where our competitive advantages like agric, maize, plantain, cassava. Look, we have what we call, do you know we are going to get what we call Dutch disease? The Nigerians had a Dutch disease when they have the oil. Everybody started eating rice. So they stopped gari. They stopped eba. By the time they realized, they could not even afford to import rice. That is where we are heading towards to.
But
we've been
told, Dr. Atuahene, about planting for food and jobs. Part 1, now part 2, that's ongoing. If this is supposed to be the base for our agrarian economy, that should help us produce in meeting food security, you know?
Thank you very much. I had a chance to visit about 3 of them. Some people hired me to go around to see. I just wanted to see what they are doing. The least talk about it, the better. You see, the communist countries used to have that model. The state want to do something. No. It is the private sector. If you create an enabling environment, like if you can access credit from development bank, say 7% to go into maize farming. I mean, the cost of the money is only 7% or 5%. You can't go to bank and access 30%. And if you want government to go in, government hasn't got the expertise. Today, I can tell you, Some businessmen in Ghana are growing to rice. I can assure you, rice and cassava, because I've cited them myself. Private people, it's not government. Create the enabling environment. What I mean, enablement, they should help them to even have the facilities, the planting machine materials and what have you, and the buying systems and all those things, the monitoring, the confidence and the thing. If you have them for the price at a reasonable price, the farmers will be able to produce and people will go in. Now, farming is it's not attractive, because if you go there, there are no labor. They've all gone into Galamsey. They've all gone to do. I drove through a certain place yesterday, and when I was coming, children were carrying pans. I asked them when I was here, what site? Site where means that they're going for Galamsey. Instead of going to farm, they were going to Galamsey. So we are in a serious trouble. The thing that we are talking about this evening is no joke. If you experience what I saw this weekend, I say, oh, now we are in trouble.
But, okay, so I'm hearing you say a number of things. Am I correct in saying that you're looking at clear policy credibility issues that are at the heart of how the economy is being run or has been run, that has brought us to this point where the base of the economy that must flourish and produce productivity for those who are gaining to save, to invest, to come for loans from banking institutions is not available, has been crushed? Why we are where we are today?
Yeah, but let me ask you, if you ever had your bonds, 19%, maturing 2025, was taken out from you, giving 9%, stretch to 2031, what would you say? Would you talk about investment in Ghana? It's a very question that we should ask ourselves. When people talk about investment attractive in Ghana, if I have a pensioner have so much money in bonds at 19%, maturing on 2026, and then suddenly we get up in one fine morning, they say, no. For you are not even going to get any interest for the next 2 years. The next one gets 2025. And your maturity period has been extended to 3031. What about if the person dies? What happens? You see, our uncontrollable appetite for borrowing has led us to the place we are now. And nobody can run away from it. It's not economics. You see, if you borrow and you don't put it in productive investment, my brother, this is where we are today. And it will be very difficult, because performing under the Bretton Woods direction, it is, GDP is growing, inflation is coming down. I mean, they use figures like that. But you see, if you are down to earth, those of us who are down to earth, who visit the farms, will tell you that what you're saying is not very true. Even cocoa, today you can't get people to eat your cocoa farm again. I'm telling you, a friend of mine who is a cocoa farmer, he told me, Kwesi, I'm going to cut it down and cultivate, or is it palm oil or what, oil palm? I don't know how it is. He cut it down. And I myself, mother has about 100 acres. I was contemplating selling the land and taking my equity and go, because what you're being given to think about how we can revive the economy.
Now, Societe is leaving. We have seen indications of other banks too that have taken a similar trajectory. In the last couple of months, we have seen quite a number of institutions or banks taking a similar trajectory. We're told that Barclays, Standard Chartered, notable examples, later scaling back operations in some countries while maintaining a presence in Ghana and other African countries. The indigenous banks, the local banks that we have, can they view this as an opportunity? Is there any opportunity in this at all? Or there's nothing here to look at?
Thank you very much. You see, if you take, say, the Nigerian banks of the equation, and you talk about the indigenous bank, I will call it the private domestic bank, including the state-owned banks. I can tell you, there's nothing good to write about it. Because, you see, the Nigerians in their banking sector, if you look at them, when they started talking about good corporate governance, it's about, I think 2008 or 2009 by the then governor, the Nodna, who was very tough. So when they say we are appointing board, and you don't have a fit and proper test, my brother, no matter your connection, you cannot be there. But in Ghana, I've been to one of the boards. Let me share this experience with you. I did a job for one of the banks. Oh, Jesus Christ. I went there and I saw the board members all. I saw a lady who did not even understand what a basic counting is, because he has been appointed by somebody to be on the board. If issues of credit, matters of credit, say syndicated even loan comes, what would he contribute? So our governance systems, even Bank of Ghana say they have directives, they have this and that. You see, they look at the foreign, but the foreign banks are excellent, especially the Nigerian banks. My brother, they follow their corporate governance like the good book, because they don't joke with it. Here, when we say fit and proper test, the person goes there, and to be, if you ask me, how can this person be appointed to a board? The one question I asked recently, so a government brought the person. I said, but if you have a fit and proper test, why don't you tell the governor that, the president, that these are the people they can come from your party, but they must have experience in accounting, finance, and banking. All the banks you're saying, how many of them have published their accounts? Now, let's just look at it one by one. CAR published it recently. What did you see? Impairment losses and DDP losses, almost 600 and something million. And they are going to look for a capital of 600 million, isn't it? Have you talked about ADP? Have you talked about Fidelity? They don't have the capacity. Otherwise, it would have been an opportunity for them to leverage on SG and buy. But it will be very, very difficult. Some of them are being called to bring in capital. How can they go and acquire SG? So it's not going to be easy. Maybe there is a potential benefit for the Nigerian bank. I wouldn't mention their names. Some of the banks are run efficiently. Do you remember that? I'll mention him, Access Bank. Mm-hmm. You know, he took Stanchart assets in Sierra Leone, Angola, so many, Gabon. Yeah. He took that last year, July. Because you see, it's run professionally. It is run like Stanchart or Barclays. So I'm hoping that they will get one of these banks, but not a Ghanaian, a private domestic bank or a state bank in Ghana. No.
That brings me. So now that we're seeing this exit of the multinational banks from our space now, you're saying that the Nigerian banks stand a better chance of strengthening their grip and their performance in the Ghanaian banking sector, correct?
Yes, already they have done that. If you look at you look at Zenith, Access, UBA, GT, the one recently branded. Yeah, they have really positioned themselves because they see something in this country which we ourselves, those of working in, doesn't see. And for them, because of their good corporate governance strategy and their strategic focus, I think they stand a better chance of getting hold of the SG Bank.
You talked about the private domestic banks. I was even calling them indigenous banks. But
okay, let us use your word.
Indigenous banks. Okay. Has the banking sector cleanup, and the process started from 2014, now it's full scale, 10 years now. Has it helped in improving the health, the spine, and the direction of our banking sector, especially for our indigenous banks?
Thank you very much. This is a wonderful question. Very, very wonderful. And I think you've thought through this question very well. You know, if you look at the financial sector cleanup, I don't think we got the best out of it. The reason why I'm saying is that we could have done a good bank buying a good bank, refinancing the bad banks, and getting people to manage it to turn it around with the same amount of capital. But without necessarily closing it down, people lost their job. People lost everything. Some people are now Uber drivers and what have you. But it hasn't actually, I can tell you from what I've been doing over the years, It hasn't actually helped us. Let me give you an example. In 2019, when the GATS came in, I'm going to reveal an information to you, very important information. Everybody thought that the GATS was going to lend money to the bank at a reasonable price. Well, you'll be shocked. You'll be shocked.
The GATS being the Ghana Amalgamated Trust.
That's right. That was supposed to assist, I think, 5 of them. I think 6 or 5. But you see, the amount of money they gave to them and the cost of that money alone is killing the banks. I'm telling you. It's killing the banks. If you saw Prudential balance sheet, it's open. You saw the losses they made. Part is came from. You see, if you're giving somebody subordinated capital, you are not expected to put a cost of, I mean, like a bond rate on it. So whatever the banks are doing, they are working for them. So for me, all these things have not helped the economy. And another indicator, which you'll be very happy to hear, is that since 2014, our non-performing asset ratio total to the asset has hovered between 11% and 24.9% as at December 2023.
So
and
to be, I just wanted to go through that. Go through the numbers for the years. I just wanted to help this conversation. 2014, 11%.
Okay.
2015, 14.7%. Yes. 2016 was 17.6%. 2017, 22.7%. 2018, it dropped to 18.2%. Then, 2019, the rise began. 14.7%. 2020, 15.7%. 2021, 15%. 2022, 15%. And then 2023, 9 percentage points up to 24.9%.
Well, if you use this to test the resilience of the sector, it is a complete not resilient. Because there is a literature written by IMF staff, Dekma Kuntz versus Dietrich in 1998. It says that in the banking sector that has more than 10% non-performing can be described as a fully fledged banking distress or crisis. And consistently, we have come from 11 up to 24, averaging 16.97%. So when people talk about this resilience, one measure of your resilience is about your non-performing, because it has impact on your solvency. There is a correlation between your non-performing. The bigger your non-performing, the worse your solvency rate is. Unfortunately, this is what has happened to some of the banks. And it is more especially, not the whole banks. If you go into details, you'll find the multinationals are not hit like we are hit by our indigenous, as you call them, indigenous banks. And the reason being is that there is what we call bank-specific factors. Number one, bank will go into road construction. They don't even understand how road is constructed and how it's measured. The contractor works in, so I've got a road construction in Kumasi. Then he said, give me finances loan. Nobody in the office even understand how road is constructed. So they'll give the money to the person. The person completes the business 1 year. He doesn't get paid within 1 year or 2 years. All these things moved into the non-performing. That is how the non-performing has crept up. And what makes it more significant was that after the DDEP and government not also settling the arrears on contractors and service providers in 2022, it ended up 24.9%.
In that same metric, may I ask, there was a similar jump. 2016, 17.6%. 2017, 22.7%. Is it a repeat of the same thing where the government fails to pay its arrears to these contractors who were owed knock-on effect to these banks, and then it puts them in further distress?
Thank you very much. This is another beautiful question. You know, it started in 2010 when the IMF did what we call asset quality review with stress testing. This issue that we are discussing came in 2010, and it has continuously and continually persisted up to 2024. Because if you look at the fiscal deficit, I think 2022 was 15.2%. Okay, and then it came to 12, and then it came to 7.7. Look, if your fiscal deficit, if you don't plan and you spend more and you're not able to pay them, that is what happens to the non-performing. So if you look at the cycle, it goes up and down and down and down. So it has been a feature of our system, which I believe anybody coming in must make sure that we clear the arrears and then let the bank start. Let me give you one typical example, which is public information. NIB. I'll be speaking for NIBs also. NIB, government contractors owe 2.1 billion. Should the government pay the 2.1 billion to NIB? NIB is as solvent as any bank. Now we are looking for money to go and recapitalize it and possibly refinance the contractor's non-payment debt. Why don't you pay the debt and let the equation settle? That is how these things are dovetailing into the system.
Since we are telling some home truths now, let me ask this as well. Same example you've given for NIB. If the debts owed Unibank were paid, would they have been in that situation where they were?
Exactly. You see, if somebody construct a road or provide a service and you're giving him a contract with all these things, when he completes it and you pay, there won't be any problem on that. These things, all these non-performing is reflection. The first and topmost is arrears to contractors and other service providers. It's been going on since 2010.
So now that the multinational banks are leaving, the Nigerian banks have taken a foothold on our banking sector. The Ghanaian banks are in distress. Never mind the corporate issues that you've also raised. Does that explain why the economy is in such free fall? Because the indigenous banks are not in any position to help in having the economy put on a right footing like the Nigerian banks will do for their Nigerian economy.
You're right. You know, if you've been to Nigerian banking sector, it's well protected. It's one of their, I would say, golden bed. They protect it, so entry becomes very difficult. And don't forget, in Nigeria, there are more private sector businesses than in Ghana. If you check the Nigerian economy was not built on government issues. It's built on private sector. I mean, what Dangote has even done is a clear manifestation and validation of what I'm saying. A man constructs the refinery, 12 billion to refine all the crude oil that Nigeria needs. Government can't do it. The government refineries were not even functioning. But Dangote brought expertise from India, from other countries. They're going to work. So in the country that you have this government being the economic major player, you're going to have challenges. Because when you complete the job, they even prioritize it. Who do we have to pay earlier? Because they haven't simply budgeted for it. They want to construct all roads. That is one caution that I want the IMF to take it as serious as it is. As we get into election year, if you're not going to do budget cuts, we should not add on to contracts being awarded without provision of funds. Other than that, next year, we're going to see banks and non-performing going up.
You've said the Nigerian banks are resilient. No matter what happens, they'll be fine. Should we see the Ghanaian banks, some more, go down as a result of what we're seeing? Is that a possibility?
It will be a disaster. The reason why I've been a disaster is that when I was when I was a small boy, I'm close to 70 now. We used to have a Kwame Nkrumah used to give us state enterprises and state institutions and what we couldn't even handle it, and it went down. Now, if our economy should leave, the banking sector should be left to multinationals or Nigerian or South African banks, then our problem is going to be compounded because their priorities are not part of our priorities. They are here as the SG is here. The same thing with UBA, Zenith. They all have these shareholders they have to pay. And if the microeconomic environment is not suitable for them, they will strategically not even do certain institutions. Like some of the multinationals, they will tell you that we don't do the GOG contracts. It's a strategic no-go area. So if you're their customer, don't take any GOG contract. They won't finance you. Because experience have shown that when you construct, you won't get your money back. But if you don't take care, as we have done to the gold sector, we may have the similar situation in the banking sector. The best thing we have to do is that we need to look at the bank strategy to help them to grow. But also basing them on a good corporate governance systems and robust risk management systems and effective monitoring systems. So that, and they should have independent board members who would think clearly and not people who go to sit on the board and they will tell you, as the chairman was saying, they themselves don't have anything to say. Everybody sing the chorus after the chairman. And that is what the problem of the state banks. Because I am a corporate governance specialist who have treated some of the banks, and that is what I have seen. But if you go to the Nigerian banks or the South African banks, no. Because South Africa, in Africa, is the topmost corporate governance institution in Africa. Keynes report in 2010, 2016, 2018. They started it in the Nigerian corporate. We are copying it, but we seem not to imbibe this tough corporate governance in our state institutions and the indigenous bank, as we call them. If we do that and allow them free will to operate, I am sure these institutions will stand a test of time. And years to come, we can say these are banks.
Can protectionism be introduced for our indigenous banks like Nigeria has done and like South Africa has done? Is it possible now, considering that we are on an IMF program?
Nigerian haven't said you can't come in, but the conditions they set for you is tough. They won't tell you not to come because other than that, the IMF will frown their face and say you're doing protectionism. But you see, ours is not like that. Ours is that we want to come in, but we don't want to apply we don't want to stick to the rules and regulations. How would we sit down there? Let me ask you this question. If you answer me, I'm finished. How would we sit down there for 10 continuous years? Our non-performing has reached between 11 to 24.9, and we still talk about resilience in the sector. Is it English? I don't use English. I use data. And data don't lie. Any country, let me repeat, and you can check your facts. Any country whose non-performing exceed 10%, that country banking sector is in crisis.
So we have been in crisis for the past 10 years.
We've been in it. But you hear languages. The banks are resilient. They are doing well. You see, if you take the foreign and the Nigerian banks, you now begin, if you take the veil off, you see how these indigenous banks, as you call them, are bearing the brunt of the high non-performing. It is not the multinational bank. No, they won't go there.
All right.
If you see something, let me give you confidential information. SG. When SG saw that the economy was not doing well in 2021, do you know what they did? They had a consultant who came to tell them that get rid of all your bonds. So if you look at the debt testing, SG is only a minimal bank, a bank with minimal figure. They didn't take a hit. Because somebody sitting down there is looking at the future economic issues that can affect you. And they took out from it. So they spend time on what we call the research and data. Unfortunately, here we will look at marketing. They don't look at research and data. You need empirical data You need theoretical data to form basis for your business. Other than that, you think everybody is selling news. Say, go and sell. You sell it now, it will hit you when you're non-performing.
Dr. Richmond Atuahene, that's all time allowed for us tonight. Very insightful. Thank you for your time tonight and for joining us. Seasoned banking consultant joining us tonight with his thoughts there on the pulse of the Ghanaian banking sector and what needs to be done. We've been in crisis for 10 years. That's his diagnosis. A lot more work has to be done. Thanks for watching. Thanks to my team. And thanks to you for joining us. Have a good night.